It is Saturday, May 2nd. Wat Kunurado Zoagweko, Joe Delaron, Ujets. Welcome to our daily COVID-19 Task Force update. I will be able to spit that out. It is a beautiful day today, and I know that we probably don't have as many viewers as we normally do. Those of you who are watching this right now, welcome along. Glad to have you here. Others will be able to watch this later on. Anyway, hope you're having a great day. And like I said, it is a beautiful day. You wouldn't know it by our first guest. Our first guest is Greg Horn, the editor and publisher of the Eastern Door. He joins us. I think he's calling from Waskaganish because look, he's wearing a sweatshirt. Greg, just tell us a little bit about why are you so cold?
First of all, Joe, I'm the editor and publisher of Iorì, was it?
What did I say?
Not the Eastern Door.
Oh my God. It's the heat. There's too much heat. Anyway, Steve will be joining us later during the week. But yeah, Iorì was, of course. First of all, Greg, welcome along to the program. I know that everybody has been impacted in different ways when you talk about this pandemic, and the media has played a great role in informing the community about every possible angle here. What have been the biggest challenges for you to do this very difficult job?
Well, there's a few different challenges. One is that our staff is all working from home, and in a team environment that makes it very difficult, right? As we're building the paper throughout the week, and then Jasmine gets the articles and then starts laying it out. We don't see what the paper looks like until it's done. So that's one of the major challenges. I mean, we have to change the way we're doing interviews. You can't always go and have face-to-face interviews these days. And then another one of the huge challenges from a business standpoint is that about half of our distributors have closed because they're non-essential businesses, and so that means that it's harder to get the hard copy out. So it's making some changes that we need to make to be able to get the news out by putting more stuff online.
Mm-hmm. How about business-wise? I mean, with businesses closed or not operating, obviously many of them aren't able to operate, so they're probably not buying as much advertising. How much of a burden is that on the paper?
Well, that's a huge burden, right? Because newspapers like your USA and media in general survives on advertising dollars. And April is normally a very good month for in this community because that's the start of the new fiscal year, and a lot of businesses start their advertising campaigns then. And there was a lot of things that we had planned and anticipated, and then this kind of changed everything. And so now 90% of our advertisers and potential advertisers aren't operating right now. So it's become challenging. We're doing our best to try to make the situation easier. One of the things that we did to help some local businesses was we're offering a free page of ads. They would have sponsored the cost of the color. Iorì was donated the ad space, and I think we have about 8 or 9 businesses that are still operating in limited capacities that get an ad in the paper for at least a month, and then after this week we're going to reevaluate that and see where we go from there.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of what your readers are telling you, because I know you have a lot of give and take and discussions and calls and stuff. What's been different? Are people talking about maybe COVID-19 overload and asking for other stories, or is there still a big demand for you to cover as many angles as possible?
Well, I think that a lot of almost everything that we're writing about right now has to do with COVID-19. It gets difficult, being able to cover this, but there's different aspects that we have to cover, and we don't want to overload everybody because it's everywhere, right? So it's trying to find different things and different features, things to write about. A few weeks ago we wrote about the Scary Stories Facebook group and different things like that, just to get people's minds off of what's going on around us, and the stress that this pandemic is causing, and we're just trying to focus on some of the positive things that are happening in the community as well.
Yeah, obviously that's a challenge. What about when we look at the getting these stories out, and just as a media person, as somebody who's been in here, when you look at what's going on around the area, around the world, and around Kahnawake, like the people in here are generally working from within. You're able to sit and watch and observe a little bit. What are you seeing when you see the community and how we're reacting to this whole crisis?
I think the community is reacting to this crisis. I think in the way that you would want the community to be responding. People are taking this seriously for the most part, and listening to the recommendations and directives that the task force is coming out with. They're very much in tune to what's going on, and realizing that the situation in Kahnawake is one thing, and I think that we realize how lucky we are that the numbers of positive tests are very low. And I think for the most part, people understand that it's because as a community we've been taking this so seriously. And then on the flip side, you look at how badly this pandemic is hitting Montreal and the province of Quebec. So people are very, very much understanding of how serious this is, and knowing that as a community we could be in a much worse situation.
Yeah, well, Greg, I hope that I know we all hope that this is taken care of sooner rather than later, because I know as a newspaper, these are tough times and you have to get through it. So hopefully you're going to get a little rest. It is a Saturday, and enjoy a little of the nice weather. But the community does count on our local media to get every angle of this story out, and we thank you for taking time to talk to us today, Greg.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
All right, Greg Horn, the editor and publisher of Iorì, wase, published every Thursday right here in beautiful downtown Kahnawake. Well, joining us today, he's not taking a day off on this Saturday, is the Commissioner of Public Safety, Lloyd Phillips. And Lloyd today will talk a little bit about some of the goings-on, but also some of the things behind the scenes that you may have been wondering about when it comes to the COVID-19 task force. Lloyd?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Greg. It's good to have a different perspective on what's happening in the community other than coming from a task force, but to certainly have the media share a very similar view is certainly reassuring that the community is definitely on the right track. It's just a couple items this afternoon. First and foremost, as Joe mentioned, a beautiful day outside, so I hope people are out there taking advantage, of this beautiful weather. Clouds start to roll in a little bit this evening, but we'll take it one step at a time. But again, tomorrow afternoon is supposed to be equally as nice, so let's keep our fingers crossed for that. Enjoy the outdoors. Again, physical distancing rules still apply when you're on the outside, but certainly to get outside in sunshine, feel the warmth, it gives you that sense of normalcy, and a sense of freedom once again. So I encourage people to certainly go out there and enjoy that. I just want to reiterate a few points and a few stats that I want to relay once again to the community that I think it's very important to emphasize. And I talked a little bit yesterday about a lot of the plans we have moving forward as a community and the next phases of the pandemic and looking towards the recovery phase. Because right now we're still in that response phase of any emergency, but then the next phase of that is obviously the recovery, where you get things back to normal, and those processes are standard, whether it be a house fire or whether it be a major accident or some sort. We have we prevent, we mitigate, we respond, and then we recover. Right now we're still in that response phase, but we're looking towards that recovery. So we have to get those plans together. And I emphasize and I want to underscore the fact that even though we're getting these plans together, we are still in a pandemic as we speak. Since mid-April, and including today, on average, 100 people a day are dying in the province of Quebec. And that's a staggering number. If you look at, well over 2,000 people have died, in just the past month. So we are still seeing those numbers maintained at around 100. They're not going up, which is a good thing in a smaller sense, but at the same time, they're not yet dropping down to a level where we can see, we're seeing the other side of that curve and we're on that downward swing. So we still are in that pandemic. And the way that certain things you may hear on the news, especially in Quebec, they're looking at opening up certain retail establishments coming next Monday, and certain things as the weeks to follow. You may watch on news, American news, CNN and other news. Many states are starting to loosen their lockdown orders, their stay-at-home orders. Which is obviously everybody's prerogative. State by state, they could make those decisions, and even province by province in Canada, they can make those decisions. But again, Kahnawake will make the decisions that is best for our community. And it's important to keep reiterating that, because I don't want people to get the sense that we could take a step back and have a sigh of relief. We're not at that point yet. And I'll repeat what I said before. I do really believe there's a lot more road behind us than there is in front of us. But certainly, we have to keep going in that direction. Because if you look at some of the stats on some of the on the new cases, and this stat has been consistent for the past month or so, that between the ages of 20 and 49, so generally a younger population, they account for almost 40% of all new cases. So these are the population of people who generally will do well. There have been exceptions where people have perished or been seriously ill from the disease, but this age group between 20 and 49 will generally do well, and they account for approximately 40% of all new cases. But if you look on the other side of it, 25% of all deaths were between the ages of 60 and 79. So many of us, or almost all of us have somebody in our family within that age group between 60 and 79. And some of us may be closer to that age than they want to admit. But certainly, we have somebody in our family that is in that age category, and 41% of all deaths are people within their 80s. So same thing applies. If you think around your household, your family, your friends, your grandparents, uncles, aunts, or neighbor, we have somebody within that very vulnerable group out there between the ages of 60, in the 60s to 80s, and that counts for like 75% of all the deaths that are happening. That's a huge number, and if anything else, that's why we are doing this. That's why we have to do what we got to do. We got to protect our elders. In Kahnawake, they're our storytellers. They're the ones that know the history. They're our first language speakers. So that's why it's important to maintain what we're doing and making sure that we stay strong, because that's the group of people who are most vulnerable. And we can't say that enough. We can't say it enough, because it really means a lot to us. And as I mentioned even the other day, the Kahnawake vision statement makes it very clear in there that elders are the ones who we cherish the most in our community. We support our children, we guide our children, but we listen to our elders. And those are the ones that we really have to protect. Now, with that said, a couple of points I also want to raise with the community is about the impacts. One last thing that hasn't been mentioned very often, because we all know school has suspended, the essential services and such have been suspended, only essential services in the community. But there was other one, and those of you who have been watching, there has been an ongoing Kahnawake paramedic training course that has been taking place since last year. We have 8 students who are currently in the program who were only weeks away from finishing the program and ready to start their on-the-job training, their stage work. So it was very close, but due to the pandemic and what has to happen, that was also another victim, if you want to call it that, of the pandemic. All those students had to be put temporarily on hold, and unfortunately, not able to work as a paramedic because they haven't finished all the proper training as of yet, and also they're on their field training. They're very close. They're very knowledgeable people. Some of them work to assist. But if we would have had just a little while longer, we could have had 8 more paramedics in our community out there, serving the community. So we're looking at options because in one of my other roles, Tanner Phillips, my son, is a lead instructor, and I've been an assistant in there since the beginning. So in one of my other roles, we're looking at ways on how can we get that course restarted to ensure that we finish off the criteria so we could get the students back doing their field training. So again, we have a larger pool of paramedics in our community, to service our community. So that was just a little background there, because there's other impacts that we may not realize, but that's certainly one that directly hits home for myself as a paramedic myself, and obviously with the Kahnawake Fire Brigade, and how I see how they're struggling and to maintain proper coverage with the paramedics with a very small staff. So hats off to them, but I also want to underscore the fact that we do have these other medics who will be coming along hopefully very shortly. One of the other questions that we talked about, and I just wanted to maybe emphasize a few points, is that people have been asking, again, to be reminded, who is actually, on the task force, and how are decisions made, and stuff of that nature, which is fine. We put that out there before, but I'll cover it again very quickly, just so you're aware. Obviously, my role here is as Public Safety Commissioner. Is a vital role on here. I help coordinate the task force. I chair the meetings and help provide guidance and direction. You see Lisa Westaway often. Lisa Westaway is another very vital component to the task force, and she has her team. Don Montour-Lazar and Leslie Walker Rice, who work with her in the hospital. Dr. Anik Gauthier works along with them, and they bring that medical perspective and that sense of, from a purely health perspective, they can bring that to the task force and combine that with the public safety elements. That forms, obviously a large direction in which we have to go. But we also obviously have other people there who are equally important, not to diminish anybody whose role. We have Dwayne Zachary, who's the chief peacekeeper, who sits in the task force, provides his perspectives from a policing background. But again, everybody doesn't work in isolation. Dwayne talks to the officers on the ground, the guys who are really on the front line doing their job, involving his sergeants and the assistant chiefs to ensure that what he brings to the task force is something that has been again seen throughout the community. So again, obviously he's a very valuable resource, as well as the fire chief David Scott. He brings his perspective, and very similarly, he also obviously oversees the ambulance service for the fire department as a whole, and he has a large group of people who help guide him, provide him input. Brian Deere, the assistant fire chief, as one example. Tanner Phillips for the medical side. We have Dr. Broomer, who's also the medical director, and as well as Wissa Stacy, who acts as an alternate. So again, even though there's only one person sitting here in the task force, everybody has their own team around them to help guide them, provide input, and provide them some direction to get that full, I guess, wider perspective within the community. We have Derek Montour, executive director of KSCS. Again, they have a major role in pandemic response or emergency response. They're responsible for shelter and food, and they have been running the emergency food services, both the food basket as well as the hot meal service. They had set up a shelter for people who require shelter, who may have to self-isolate after travel. But they also have their regular responsibilities, which has been enhanced. Working along with people like Kathy Jacobs, Cheryl Zachary, to oversee a lot of the psychosocial aspects in the community. providing the service to the community, people who may need assistance, dealing with the stress of the pandemic, or dealing with everyday stresses that everybody has in their lives. So again, great team around there to bring all those perspectives to the task force, by Derek. We have Robin Delarone, education, obviously major decisions made in the past while regarding Kahnawake schools, as well as the schools that may be opening in the province. It's a major impact on our community. The children are obviously a very crucial to our community. She's been providing us guidance and input from the education perspective, as well as she's been acting as the liaison with the other schools, Kahnawake, as well as Indian Way. So, as well as working closely with Natalie Bova, who oversees Step by Step. Natalie Bova is not officially part of the task force, but she does certainly provide a subject matter expertise that none of us else has. So she does call in on occasion to bring some information to us regarding the services that she's providing and what services she may be able to provide in the future. So again, a very vital component to what we're doing. We also have, obviously, communications is a key point for what we're doing, Facebook Live being one of them. We have Gene Daibo, who sits on there and provides his input and guidance from a communications perspective on how we should be communicating stuff to the community. But as well, he has, same thing, everybody has a team around him. We have Joe Delarone, as you see here, just about every day. Justice Post as Lahash and Wanadio Daibo and others who are there to support and guide the communications aspect to ensure that we're doing as much as we can to get the information out there to the community. And obviously they provide us with recommendations and ideas on how we could continue getting that message to the community. We have a member from the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake. Harry Rice is the main lead. He sits here as well to give us some perspective from MCK's perspective, the political areas, to provide knowledge from that side. So that's taken into account with all the decisions that are made. And we have representation, Ganawiyo Diom from the 207 Longhouse. Again, same thing. He provided us with some valuable insight on some of what he views and how the Longhouse views certain things, and some of the support they have given to the task force, which is much appreciated. So that's again another vital component, because everybody has their circle of influence, and we welcome that. As well as Mike Benwell has been calling in on the calls from the Mohawk Trail Longhouse. Again, he chimes in on occasion, but more even just to have that perspective, and he could relay that back to the people in his Longhouse and the people within his circle to again get the information out, but also equally be able to table or voice a support or a concern if that's the case. As well, myself, I have my team around me, which I certainly really appreciate. And you don't see them very often. And obviously, Jez Afoot been on here for a couple of occasions. He helps coordinate the Emergency Operations Center, which is what the day-to-day operations here. The task force is what we're named, but it's actually operating an emergency operations center under standard emergency management procedures. He coordinates all the activities around there, obviously supporting me and allowing me to focus on a lot of the bigger pictures and try to be more strategic, as well as Robin Montour. She hasn't been here on Facebook, but we're working on that. But she's also a vital component in terms of ensuring the day-to-day operations of the task force are maintained, answering questions, relaying information, coordinating between all these bodies, all the people I named, help coordinate and ensure information is shared in the proper ways. And obviously she is also a decision maker involved in some of the clarifications on directives that were given, and she has taken on that role. So everybody has a team, and that supports them. And even administratively, you know, I have Ashley Ross that sits in here all day long, doing very long hours. I really appreciate her help. Tracy Snow has been here as well, you know, and assistant Sherry Divo doing reception work. So the whole public safety team that we normally work in the old Peacekeeper station are all located here at the Peacekeepers in the community room, which is our designated emergency operations center. So that gives you a perspective. You know, even though you may see, you know, me and Lisa here just about every day, and a few others come in on occasion. You know, we draw upon all the expertise within the community and all the viewpoints and pull it together, and then the task force considers all these elements and makes the decisions. But like we said from day one, our guiding principles, you know, is health and safety and well-being of our community. Health and safety and well-being of our elders is our primary focus, and that's what we have been saying from the beginning, and that's what's going to continue to guide us going forward. So I hope that helps give you, a little more maybe background and information on who is really involved behind the scenes, because it's not certainly a 1 or 2 person operation. There's many people involved. And with that, again, Kahnawake, I appreciate the support you've been giving to the task force, and I'll talk to you soon. And
thank you so much, Lloyd. A lot of information there. And like Lloyd said, a lot of that information was given out. But we realized that we've been doing this for like 7 weeks or so, and some of that information actually went back a long ways. So time is flying. We're into May 2nd. We'd like to thank Greg Horn from Iorì for taking time from his Saturday to speak to us today. Tomorrow, Paul Grafe from K1037 will be joining us, and as the days go on, we'll also talk to Steve Bonspiel from the Eastern Door. So we have some things lined up, and of course, as we get into a Monday and Tuesday, we get into the regular course of action here at the COVID-19 task force. We'll be updating every day. We haven't missed a day so far, and we don't plan to miss any. We thank everybody for joining us. For those of you who've taken time on a beautiful day, enjoy the day. And just remember, 6 feet, 2 meters. At our house, we like to do even a little more than that just to play it safe. Just a note, before we went on the air here today on Kahnawake 911 Facebook page, we did get Lloyd was contacted by a lady who is willing to donate beadwork pieces. Now, grad is coming up, and we know that the graduation season is different this time around, but people are still graduating. And the lady was mentioning that not every person in Kahnawake, not every family is blessed with a lot of money. And so she is willing to donate. If anyone wants to complete grad outfits with some beaded pieces, she's willing to do that. And apparently there are some other ladies who are willing to do that. At no cost. They'll actually take care of all the materials. They just need to know what colors you would need. And this one lady actually is ready to do 3 pieces for 3 separate people if the need is there, and I imagine there would be. So a very, very generous thing to do. I think everybody appreciates that. And if you're one of those people who might need a little assistance, get hold of Lloyd. Just talk to him over here at the COVID-19 task force, and he'll put you in touch with that lady, and it'll just be a wonderful thing. So I think that's it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, roughly the same time. We appreciate your time. Stay healthy, and thanks for watching.